Yes, it's Destination Newry. It's the morning programme. I'm Rowan Hand. You are enormously welcome wherever you're viewing live in the world this morning. It's constantly a joy to be with you, and always a joy. Well, when I say always, it's the second time, Wendy, that I've had Wendy Thomas in studio. And the last time you were not the director of the Samaritans.
No.
This time you are
Indeed,
the director of the
yes.
Samaritans in Newry. How did that come about?
Well, we have a selection working party, and everybody in the branch is asked who they would like to see
Yes.
and why, and then they meet again to discuss the nominations, and the director emerges from that.
Yeah. Were you surprised?
Very.
Yeah. But of course, it means a lot of hard work.
It is very busy, but the good thing is you do it for 3 years and then you stand down.
Yeah.
So you know you're going to work very hard for 3 years.
But what's the nature of that hard work? Well, you know, a Samaritan comes in, sits down and takes the phone calls and
Yes.
communicates with people and listens.
That's right.
Now that's it. That's given. That's what you do
Yes.
anyway. Now, what on top of that have you got to do as a director?
Well, you oversee the running of the whole branch, so we look at selection and training of new volunteers, ongoing training for existing volunteers. We all have to do ongoing training every year. You oversee the fundraising, the outreach programme, which is very important.
What is the outreach program?
It's getting to know the community. We do talks to schools, to groups, every sort of community group. We make links with community leaders and try and see where our support might be needed and what support we can offer. We don't just sit in the branch, we actually go out quite a lot.
Oh, you do. Once upon a time, like the St. Vincent de Paul people, you would never have got you in a television studio.
No, indeed.
But now you do, and you do so with aplomb and a certain joy, because it's an important message you bring.
It is very important.
Yeah. Do you find, when you say about ongoing training,
Yes.
that presupposes ongoing changing need?
Yes, there are. I mean, we're always looking at areas that might need a bit more. We liaise with other agencies as well, and you know, with the Simon community, for example, and we had a session from someone from Cruise Bereavement Services. So we do link up with other services because sometimes people need more than we can offer them. I mean, our service is befriending and listening, but sometimes people need more structured service for a particular reason. And so we get to know the other agencies and we support each other and very much work together.
Is it within the philosophy and the ethos of the Samaritans, when listening to someone, to say something like, well, do you know, have you ever thought of approaching maybe Simon? Something like that, guiding people towards a goal.
Yes, we do. We if people have a particular need that is more than just being listened to, we do make them aware that there are other services available. One thing we don't do is give advice.
Yeah.
We never advise people what to do. We don't say, I think you should. We say, well, if you wanted to, you could perhaps contact.
Yes. It's a form of words.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
And we're very careful not to tell people what we think they should do.
Yeah.
They make the decisions always, but we let them know what's available.
And that extends even to someone who is saying to you on the telephone, I am going to take my own life. You will not say directly, don't take your own life.
No. We try and explore with people who are suicidal what it is that is making them feel that bad. One of the important things is to acknowledge how bad it really is for people and how their feelings of depression, despair and hopelessness affect them, because they can't tell the people closest to them. They don't want to upset them. But they can tell us, and being with somebody who is in the depths of despair it's a very difficult thing to do, but our volunteers are excellent at supporting people in that way and actually going with them, being with them while they're in the very deepest distress.
Wendy, are there many people in Newry who are in the depths of despair in the very deepest distress?
Sadly, there are people.
Many.
I wouldn't want to put numbers on it. And obviously,
Significant.
They're significant, yes. I mean, people are facing unemployment, relationship breakups, homelessness, illnesses, you know, and it's a very difficult time for people. The economic climate is bad, and a lot of people are suffering quite significant hardship, and that can lead to all sorts of feelings of real distress.
I think I think one circumstance in which I can imagine real distress, if I am a father of a family, say,
Yes.
a husband, my wife and my family are there, my 5 children, my wife, and I am incapable, for whatever reason, of supporting them any longer, to the extent that they don't have any food,
Yes.
to the extent that the mortgage is 2 months behind. I can conceive of that driving a man over the edge.
Absolutely.
Or a woman over the
Indeed
edge.
it does.
It's not so much for oneself, because by and large we can all sort of buckle down and get into the foxhole and stay safe ourselves.
Yes.
But when it's the ones we love, the folk we love and care for, when we don't fulfill responsibilities there, that can be destructive.
That's very true, and we get a lot of, we do get calls from people in those situations.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so very problematic indeed. We have so many new people in our community now, new neighbours.
Yes.
Beautiful people from continental Europe. We have people in from Poland, from Lithuania, from Latvia. We have these people from the Czech Republic in our community. Are they facing increased vulnerability as a consequence of their new settlement?
We don't actually know about that. We don't think about where people are coming from. Very often people from other communities have a community support of their own.
Yes.
But we do get calls from people of all nationalities, and people who've been here for a long time, people who are born and bred here, people who've moved in more recently. We don't actually find a great deal of difference in, you know.
Oh, well, need is universal.
Need is universal.
I cut you, you
yes,
cut me, I
that's
cut a
right.
man in Africa, we bleed the same kind of blood.
That's right.
There's no two ways about it. But I think what I was getting at, that if there is a pattern developing within our new neighbours, then there's a wisdom in trying to perceive that pattern so that something can be done about it on a more formal basis.
We haven't done any research on that, and it isn't showing up as a major issue.
That's good.
There.
Yeah, that is good.
But because actually a lot of our calls don't come from this area anyway. We have an 0845 number.
So you could have someone in Birmingham ringing you.
Indeed, we do,
Yeah.
yes. It goes on a sort of daisy chain, you know, the next available, line gets it. And people are often surprised to find they're talking to someone in Northern Ireland.
But it's a good surprise, because especially in a town like Newry, if I was at the very end of my tether, the last thing I would do would ring the Samaritans, because you'd all know me. I couldn't say, oh, well, Rowan, don't worry. No, you would be, but if you're talking to someone who's a total stranger, an outsider, it's much easier.
Yes, I mean, the anonymity of it is very important to people, and they will often ring us because of the anonymity, you know, and I could be walking past someone in the street whom I've spoken to recently, but I wouldn't know, and neither would they.
Yeah. Now, what can people do to help you?
Well, we're an entirely self-funding organisation, and we rely heavily on the generosity of the community. We have an amazing fundraising team who do all kinds of, put on all kinds of events to raise funds for us. And we're shortly having a fashion show.
Wow, I tell you.
Indeed.
For women or men?
Mainly women,
Mainly
but there will be opportunities for men as well. It's happened for a couple of years in Carlingford.
Ah, yes.
But this year we're coming to Warren Point.
No better place.
Indeed.
Where in Warren Point will you be?
It's going to be at the Whistledown Hotel.
Oh, it's a very lovely venue.
It is indeed, on the 14th of May.
14th of May.
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
And we have wonderful support from...
Whistledown Hotel in Warren Point. And wonderful support from...
Yes, we have support from local businesses.
Yeah.
We have some fashion outlets who will be showing their wares,
yes.
and it will be a great evening.
And might people be able to get some nibbles and things
Oh,
when
I'm
they're
sure
there?
they will, yes.
Without a doubt, yes.
And I think there'll be a glass of wine for people as well.
How absolutely wonderful. A mellifluous libation. Hugely important. Yes,
Very important.
Very
I believe the phrase in Ireland is there'll be great crack.
Oh, yes, of course. Now, do people go and pay you money going in? Is that what it is?
Yes, there's a £10 entrance
Which you look
fee.
at so very little to be doing such a good thing.
And it is a very enjoyable evening. Our previous events have been really successful.
Yeah.
We're very grateful to the local businesses for supporting us and showing their wares. It's a good opportunity for them too.
And there is a class of person, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but there is a class of person, and it's a very significant class of person, for whom an evening watching women parading in nice clothes would be quite acceptable, not at all boring. I like looking at lovely women.
Indeed,
It's very beautiful, but for an entire evening, for me to be sitting there watching the latest sort of swish of the coat or turn of the skirt, it would be difficult. But there are people who love that.
Yes.
And it's their night.
Absolutely.
It's their night, it really is. And I think what we need to say to people, because very, very often this can float over people's heads, and they won't bother getting up to go out and taking trouble. But I think if you go there at 8 o'clock on the night, on the 14th, to the Whistle Down, by 10 o'clock that night you will have a distinct feeling of having done something that's very jolly good.
Yes.
And worthwhile. And you will have had a good night. You'll have had the crack as well.
That's right. I mean, people have enjoyed them very much in the past. And it's good to meet other people. We sometimes get volunteers from something like that as well.
That's the other area of concern that you're involved in.
Yes, we just finished a session of training, but we're recruiting now for our next session, which will be in September.
Maybe you and I can make arrangements at a later date, not too far in the future, where we'll have you and one or two others in to talk about the volunteering program.
That would be lovely.
And that keeps the whole thing going on.
We'd be very well.
I'm going to play you some beautiful music now. And we finally remind people it's May the 14th, it's 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's the Whistledown Hotel in Warren Point. £10. You will make a difference to the work of the Samaritans if you attend. Isn't that right?
Thank you. Yes,
I'm going to play you Ravi Shankar and his daughter Anushka, and they're playing a Zitar compendium of beautiful music. I have that for you now. Ravi Shankar, coming from the fingertips of our good friend Andrew McCracken on the switchboard.